Welcome back as we continue with our series on the executive functions so that you're able to understand your preteen and teenager as they continue to grow up. Please remember to subscribe and to follow so that you can be able to come along even as we continue with the series and understanding your teenager better. So this week we are going to look at the higher order executive functions. We are going to look at 3 and then we'll finish up next week with the rest that will be remaining. Now, the higher order executive functions these are still the functions that enable a person to self-manage and acquire the skills to self-manage themselves and even others in life and to be able to function in a healthy manner, and especially in a way that we as parents desire our children to function as they approach young adulthood. And the first one here is planning and organization. And yes, I know this is a major one for us as parents. We want our teenagers to be organized and to be able to plan themselves. But remember, this is a part that is developing at this time. And as we had said earlier, it goes up to the age of 25. So you may still have a teenager who is 20 years or even an adult now who is still struggling with organization and planning. And so you need to be there to support them. So you'll find that these adolescents will struggle with structuring their homework, when to do it, at what time, to what extent, and it is because earlier you used to do it for them, but now you expect them to be able to organize themselves and to do everything according to how they are meant to. But my dear parent, they will still struggle with it. And it is even now comes in the long-term projects that nowadays they are given. They'll be given a month or 2 or 3 and told by the end of this period you need to be done with this project. How do they break down? Per month, per week, per day, so that now at the end they are able to do it. So that is where you as a parent, you still need to come in and empower them. And at times, not only once, but several times, you'll need to come and help them in planning and organizing themselves to be able to do that. And not only that, it is also balancing schoolwork and their social life. How do they plan and organize around it? Because chances are high your teenager will tend to have their social life more than their schoolwork or even school. So how do you help them? How do you sit down and discuss to balance out the hours so that at the end of the day they are not depressed because they failed in the exam, yet they thought that they had balanced everything out, but yet they did not give more enough time to their schoolwork. So, and even now coming to the home, how do they manage and organize themselves? Do you give them tasks to do in the house? Or does the nanny do everything for them? So it is at this period where now you need to relax on how much the nanny does for the adolescent and allowing them now to be able to balance their schoolwork and even their tasks at home, so that even later when they go to campus, because now they will have to manage their room and their clothes and what they eat. How will they do it if they have not been empowered from the home? And even for us, as we say that, oh, let them concentrate on schoolwork, the nanny, we can pay for that. Yes, it is okay. But later in life, will you be able to afford for them to have that luxury of a nanny from day one? So even as you think about it, know that you need to start to be patient with them and helping them to be organized and to be able to plan their things. This will call for you now to start having checklists. So you writing down and checking when they are done, even asking them to check, and at the end of the week you see what has been done and what has not been done. Visual schedules whereby they're able to, as they walk past their mirror or past the washroom door, they're able to see that I'm supposed to do this task if they have not done it, and then helping them to break it down. If every time we keep talking and talking and it never ends, and this talking causes them to say that you're nagging them, and then now it drives you apart. So what is the plan B? What other plan? Because talking seems not to be working. So what is the plan? So this is what I am trying to introduce to you, that make it practical so that now they do not even have a reason to say that I did not do this task or the other because I did not remember, like we discussed last week, or because I didn't see it and the like, so that those excuses are no longer there. But as I said, you need to be patient with them, and then knowing when to give consequences and when to forgive, because it is part of their brain developing. Because sometimes they will not plan or organize themselves because they know they don't want to, or they want to be disobedient. So it is you relating with your teenager and getting to a point whereby you can tell the difference, so that you forgive, or when now to apply the consequences. Because if most of the time you keep giving them consequences, and for real, sometimes it is just their brain developing and growing, they will feel like they're being treated unfairly, or they will feel a bit depressed or even anxious, because sometimes they are feeling helpless because they do not know how to do it, and they don't know how to ask for help from you. So that is the planning and organization that really changes and goes along as part of the executive function. The second one we'll discuss today is initiation. And initiation, this is the ability to start tasks independently. Oh yes, I know. I can even hear you as a parent saying that, yeah, that is a challenge we have. My teen cannot tell themselves to do something or to perform a certain task. And that is still part of the executive function that develops during this adolescent period. And so they will need your help, not only once, twice, several times until they get it. Also, because most of the time what happens, sometimes they will procrastinate. They will not do what they are supposed to do at that time. And most of the time what we tend to do is to assume that they are lazy. But no. Sometimes it's not that they are lazy, but it is that part of the brain that motivates someone to stand up and do something is developing. So they can just sit, and they will sit for hours without doing anything, because that motivation, that initiative aspect of the brain hasn't developed clearly. But thank God that you can come in as a parent to help with that. And that is why your presence is still needed in the adolescent period to help them in terms of initiating. And you give them that motivation. If that internal push to do something is not there, you can come in with this external push, with the aspect of affirmation and reward. And that is why it is important at this stage, because you need to add a layer. As the internal motivation or the internal push is still developing, you can come with this external motivation and layer that will push them or drive them to do something, and also not getting tired for you as a parent doing it and helping them to take on and do these things. So how else can you come in? It is creating routines. What routine do we do, so that now they know it is hung there? At this particular time, we are supposed to be doing this. At this hour, I am supposed to take this initiative and start to do these tasks that have been given. So sometimes it needs to have the routine coming in, and laying it out and breaking it down, so that you reduce the number of times where you keep saying you didn't tell yourself, you could not have told yourself to do this task. It is your life. You need to be responsible and know when you need to start doing something. Yes, it is true, but in the meantime, as that prefrontal cortex develop, you are to come in and help them with that. If it also gets to a point where you need to prompt them, setting alarm or reminders that will help to prompt them so that they know it is time to perform this task. It might need you to get to that point until it internalizes, and they know that every weekend at this particular time I have music practice, football practice, or I have to do this online class. Until it gets to that point whereby now they can be initiative. After even they finish those classes, they're able to say, Mom or Dad, can I start another class? I'm interested in this. Now they begin taking initiative because it has internalized. So, my dear parent, you need to sit down and see which areas do you still struggle with your preteen and teenager about tasks that they need to learn how to do it for themselves, and come in and help them to do it. Now, the third and last executive function we'll look at today is the emotional control. And that is an area we struggle with our teenager, even as they go along. Because yes, the amygdala develops earlier on when they are younger. So and amygdala controls the emotion. The emotional center is part of the limbic system. We usually say it's the feelings center. But the only thing that is a challenge is, even from a young age, is controlling those feelings. At what point do I express my anger? At what point do I keep it in? If I am happy, to what level should I just burst out laughing and laugh and laugh? At what point do I need to control myself? Where am I so that I control myself? So it is that aspect of controlling the emotions that we have that now is developing in the adolescent period. And that also needs us to be patient with our teenagers and teach them and train them even as we go along. Even for us as therapists, that is partly what we do. We even begin, especially if we are brought in a teenager with, let me say, problematic behavior. What we start by problem, and most of the time it's got to do with emotions and thought before now it gets to behavior, which now is the parent seeing the behavior and now bringing them in. So we go back and start dealing with the thought and also the emotion around it, and helping them to name these emotions that they are going through. So is it sadness? Is it anger, frustration, and feelings of crying and desperation and despair? So what are these emotions that they are having? So it is now even you as a parent coming in, instead of telling them, don't slam that door, or you cannot say that to me. Yes, they need to be respectful and the consequence should definitely follow. But then you need to come in and tell them, okay, you slamming that door means you're angry. So what is behind it? What has got you to this point of feeling that angry? And then allowing them to share that they did not feel heard. They felt ignored. And them saying that you've not been there for me for so many years and all that. You've only been there for the other sibling. Now it is you coming to that point of enabling them now to express their emotions, and now they're able now to control as you help them to get to a point of where they're able to control the emotion. And this part is still developing. So you'll have moments of those emotions that are all over the place, and now helping them to go through these emotions. But what we see some of us as parents, we are dragged into it. It's so easy to get dragged into some of these emotions. So the teenager is shouting, the mom and dad, they're also shouting head to head. They're almost having this physical war. If it is sulking or being mad at the other, the cold war, the teenager is not talking to the parent, so the parent also takes the same position. They're not talking to the teenager, and time just continues weeks without talking. So no, it is for us, because we are the adult. We are the ones to come in and adjust and control our own emotions, and now go ahead and control even the emotions of and help the teenager or adolescent to control their emotion. And it takes time and it needs a lot of patience from us as parents. So those are the 3 executive functions we are to discuss this week. We have 4 more remaining. So I'm hoping I will see you next week, where we will discuss about them and see the way forward after that. So please remember to subscribe, and I will see you next time.